Welcome to a very special holiday edition of Chicagosrock.com Musician Spotlight. My name is Dimitri Kontos. I play bass guitar in the Chicago area band F.H.O.D. I'd like to thank Mario Salazar for inviting me out today to be a part of this. I want to discuss bass guitar today, and I want to divide it up into two separate sections. The first segment of Musician Spotlight, I'd like to talk about influences and inspiration and how they are important to an individual, especially in regards to the bass guitar. And in the second segment, I'd like to discuss and show how the bass can be a melodic instrument as well. In the first segment of Chicago's Musician Spotlight, I want to talk about influences and the importance of influences on an individual, especially when it comes to bass guitar. Many styles of music out there: hard rock, metal, jazz, pop, funk. We're going to strictly focus on the hard rock, heavy metal type of aspect of bass playing here and their influences. I think, in my opinion, and arguably the greatest hard rock bass player is John Entwistle from The Who. He created a style and a technique that was never seen before, and throughout the years he's influenced so many great bass players such as Geddy Lee, Steve Harris, Billy Sheehan, Stu Hamm, Chris Squire, and even Lemmy from Motorhead. And that says a lot when you look at those list of bass players and their credentials. And I think as a musician, you have to go back and recognize who the greats were, and I think John Entwistle was the one who really started it off. And kind of want to just get that out there so people know who the grandpa of modern rock bass playing is. When I first started playing bass about 17 years ago, I was influenced by three main bass players, and they were Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath, Cliff Burton from Metallica, and Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. I was big into hard rock and metal at the time, and I still am today. And those three guys really had a huge impact on me. They're similar in style, but they each have their own unique style. And I want to touch upon a little bit of each individual's style and stuff that I've learned from them as well. When I first started playing about 17 years ago, what I had done was I went out and bought tablature books, and I learned how to play Metallica songs and Iron Maiden songs through these books. And this book here, Kill 'Em All, is about 17 years old, and I studied this book. I studied the Ride the Lightning and the Master of Puppets book too, and learned as best I could to play what Cliff played. And with Steve Harris, this book here has the Somewhere in Time Power Slave albums in it, and these were like my Bibles when I was younger. And basically, I learned their style through those books. So what I want to do now is talk about a little bit about Burton, his style. Cliff was pretty straightforward on the Kill 'Em All album. He was fast, he was aggressive, he had a different approach, I guess you can say. He was more of a heavy metal, straightforward heavy metal bass player. He followed a lot of the guitars and doubled up a lot of the guitars. And what I learned from him was a lot of speed and strength, fingering positions and fingering, different things that he did when, descending patterns and stuff like that, especially like in songs like the Four Horsemen and Seek and Destroy. And I learned a lot of my speed from him. Basically, that's one aspect of my playing that I know I'm comfortable with, and I learned it from him. And Geezer Butler, his style was more of a groove-oriented style. He'd be grooving on the bass, especially early on in Sabbath's career. He'd be grooving, like for example, like Fairies Wear Boots, Where Cliff was basically straightforward, for example, like in Master of Puppets, where it's like a little bit more technical, not as groovy. And those are two different styles of playing, but similar in the hard rock and heavy metal vein. Steve Harris came in, and what he did was he took progressive style bass playing and kind of brought it to the forefront in songs. And you listen to the first couple Iron Maiden albums, the first few Iron Maiden albums, and the bass is predominant in those songs. he took the progressive style and he brought it to the forefront. And what Steve is kind of known for is his triplet gallop, you can call that. Songs like in The Trooper and in Run to the Hills, you hear a lot of the triplets. Another thing with Steve's playing is power chords. You know, he would do the power chords, which something I learned. I didn't even know really you could do on bass until learning how to play some Iron Maiden songs where, you know, like Aces High, for example, the intro with the power chords. So I learned that, you know, I learned from these guys, and I learned, you know, different styles and different tricks, I guess you can kind of say, techniques. And that's what I did for like 3 years, and I learned how to play a lot of the songs from these bands and from these bass players, and it just kind of helped shape me. And it depends on what style of player you are. If you are going to be heavy metal, hard rock, if you're going to be the progressive style player, then you're going to be playing a lot of technical stuff. If you're more of just straight laying down eighth notes like that, that's fine too. You know, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. You're going to play funk, you're going to funk it up a little bit. You might listen, let's say, like Chili Peppers or some of the early funk, Motown stuff even too. So it all depends on what you listen to, what you're influenced by, and that kind of just guides you in the path of yourself and developing a style for yourself. And with these guys and with the heavy metal style of music and the hard rock style of music, that's what I developed my style towards. And you know, when you're playing, when you're covering any type of like Metallica or Iron Maiden or whatever, if you're playing along and learning, sometimes, you know, you're going to be playing with 3 fingers instead of 2, you know. You might be doing a lot of kind of moving around on the neck and playing up and playing down. A lot of people think bass playing is just basically doing the eighth notes, and that works. You know, it works for some bands. It works for AC/DC. It works for Judas Priest. It works for U2. And there's nothing wrong with that style of bass playing, but in the hard rock and heavy metal vein of it, there's a lot more to it. And like in the second segment, when I discussed how the bass is used as a melodic instrument, and that kind of stems from the progressive style of playing. You know, in conclusion, I just think that influence, you can go on and talk about it. I just think it's so important to recognize and to tell people who your influences are, and it's just kind of a, you know, you pay tribute. If it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be where you're at today. You know, if it wasn't for Cliff or for, you know, Geezer or Steve, it's like I probably wouldn't be playing this style of bass. I'd probably be playing a little bit different style of bass. But listening to those bands and to those bass players, it just grabbed me. And 17 years later, I'm still playing, and I still love those guys. I still love the music and the style of playing, and I think that I really hope they do continue to influence a whole new generation of bass players. And I would hope that if someone likes my style of playing, or if they like our band, you know, try and steer them into the direction saying, well, you should check out this band, and you should check out that band, and you should check out that band, because this is what I listen to, and this is who I'm influenced by. And it just kind of goes back, you know, keeps that music alive and keeps that style alive. And like I said in the beginning, John Entwistle was the one who started it all, in my opinion, and they need to have a statue of him somewhere near the Tower of London. So, but anyway, that's it for the first segment. I think I've talked enough and hopefully made a little bit of sense. But we'll move on to the second segment and show how the bass guitar can be used as a melodic instrument, another side of the bass guitar, per se. Thank you for watching Chicagosrock Musician Spotlight, Segment 1. See you in Segment 2.